Community Matters.
Hello and welcome to Many Voices, One Community, stories that unite us across Long Island and beyond. I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. I'm so very pleased to serve as the Community Engagement Officer here at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center. Of course, here at the center is where we have this podcast studio, thanks to Bernie Firshpan, who is the executive producer of this organization, HMTV, and is HMTV at HMTC. And I am so very pleased to serve as host of this podcast, and especially pleased today to have Bob Freeland, who I just met a little better than a week ago at an exciting celebration that we were both involved with in Port Washington. So first off, let me say, Bob, it is so great to have you here. And why don't you share a little bit? I want to talk about all of the things you're involved with. I will tell you, this is Many Voices, One Community. I almost want to say many organizations, because I know you're involved with so many organizations and making an impact. But why don't we start? Why don't you share a little bit about what happened a little better than a week ago at your post?
Oh, absolutely. You had called us and asked if we could loan the post to you. And you came over, and with Fred Blumlein, who is my quartermaster. Let me just explain. I'm the commander of the VFW post in Port Washington, and I've been a commander there about 4 years. Unfortunately, the prior commander, who was a great guy, suddenly died. It was one of those things that I did not expect to be the commander. So I kind of got pushed right into it, and it's been a kind of a nice journey, and it's been fun. So anyway, going back to what we just started talking about, so you came over, you liked the spot, and so we got it all set up. You came in, did a wonderful job of making our place even look better, and then we had the event. Now the event was five students.
We had five high school students from the high school in Port Washington.
Schreiber High School,
right?
And the principal, the assistant principal, the head of our library in Port Washington, and all the parents and some other people, I think, from the school too, and Fred and myself from our post, some of the fellows from the Fred Falconer, who's the commander of the American Legion in Port Washington. He and a couple of his other friends from the American Legion also came over, and the ceremony worked out just very, very well. The five students who were all going into various organizations in the Army and Navy. We had one Marine who was a gal.
Yes, right. Terrific.
And we had a fellow who's going into the Navy, and one for the National Guard, and
Air Force,
and one for the Air Force.
Yeah, I think we had two in the Air Force.
I think you're right. I think it was two in the Air Force.
Yeah, and just so you all know, if I could interrupt. Of course, I serve as Community Engagement Officer here at the Holocaust Center, but as a volunteer, I am so very pleased to be president of the Tribute and Honor Foundation. And what Bob is referring to here and was the Ben Farnin scholarships. We typically give them to Glen Cove, Locust Valley, and North Shore high school students, but we had none from the Glen Cove High School this year, and none from North Shore, so we were very pleased to honor one young man who's also entering the Marines, I believe, in Locust Valley, and then the five students who, all five of the high school students entering the military from the Schreiber High School in Port Washington.
And interesting enough,
received scholarships.
The assistant principal was saying he was there over 20 years, and this was the biggest group that he's ever remembered going into the service in 1 year out of Port Washington, and it was quite a good group.
Right.
There was one young fellow, which I found interesting. He was going into submarines, and you can be very smart to go into submarines. There's a very high threshold to get in, and he was a kind of an interesting young man. So
yeah. Well, I will say, and speaking of Many Voices, One Community, some of the voices that you all will get from time to time will be our veterans, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
My brother served is a retired colonel and served
Yeah, you said that,
Afghanistan, 2 tours of duty. But the reason I bring that up is one of my other podcasts was with Evelyn Kandel, who she served during the Korean War in Washington, D.C., and certainly in the early days of women in military. But so periodically we will have veterans on the show. Again, one of many voices and such an important voice around the table. I know you were involved in so many community organizations.
Well, not that many, but a few.
Yeah. Well, as I remember that day you were dashing, I don't know whether it was Kiwanis or whether it was another one.
It was actually a board meeting from Mill Pond Acres, which is
that's right.
our community. I'm on the board there temporarily because I was president for 10 years. And I retired finally. I finally got off.
It's a big job.
It's a big job, yeah. And one of the members of the board resigned suddenly, and so they needed somebody to take his place till they came to the next election. So I'm just running. They've asked me to stay on, but I'm not. I've had enough of it, and it's a lot of work. So,
can I ask? So this is what I'm always struck by, and especially among our veteran community, and that is veterans. I often find that those who serve our nation, who step up to the plate to serve our nation in the military, return home, and sometimes they enter, as first responders, or sometimes they go into business. But as often as not, I see them serving the community, and certainly you're serving the community with your involvement with Kiwanis. Was your involvement, does that come from having served in the military, or just something your family did, or just something you just naturally felt you should do?
Well, I retired actually 11 years ago, and I realized when I retired I could have done a couple of things, working part-time or whatever, and I said to myself, I don't want to just retire. I don't want to just sit around the house and play golf. So, as it turns out, my neighbor across the street was the treasurer of the Kiwanis, and he never asked me to get involved. But as soon as he heard I'm retiring, he's over saying, Bob, why don't you join the Kiwanis? And the next thing you know, I'm a part of the Kiwanis, and the next thing you know, Jerry, who had been treasurer for this is Jerry, this fellow who I'm talking about, had been president the treasurer for 20 years. He said, you're my assistant treasurer, and you're going to take over fairly soon.
Just so you know.
Yeah, so you know, exactly. And of course, as I said, the VFW was a kind of a funny story. Back when I went into the service in...
And this is the Henderson-Marino.
The Henderson-Marino VFW post, exactly. Right. So back when I went into the service in 1969, I had gone to college. I had actually started working, which is very unusual with my 1A qualification. But so I had to go in because I had actually signed up while I was in college because I didn't think I'd get a job after, and I was going to go into the Army as an officer rather than as an enlisted man. And so anyway, to make a long story short, so I'm at Fort Hamilton being sworn in, and there's 254 of us, 252 went to Fort Polk, Louisiana. Great place to be not be at. And two of us went to Fort Dix, which is a nice place to be at if you're going to do basic training. So the two of us, a fellow by the name of Jerry Tedeschi and myself, we went to Fort Dix. Then we went on to Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri for advanced training. We were engineers. That's where we were in the engineers. And then to Fort Belvoir for OCS. Both of us decided not to take our commissions because, as I say, I had a job, and if I took my commission, I'd probably lose that job because I'd have to spend 4 years in the service. I was going to Vietnam either way, so I decided I'd just go and do my service. So about six or 7 years ago, I'm reading the paper, and I see Jerry is going to be Jerry Tedeschi. I see his name, and I see he's going to be the Grand Marshal of the Memorial Day Parade. I said, oh, my God, I know that. First of all, I hadn't seen him in all those years, 69, because once we left the Fort Belvoir, we went our separate ways to Vietnam. I went down south. He went up towards the north. So anyway, I walked down to the parade, and there he is. And I say, Jerry. And Jerry looks at me, Bob. And he looks to his wife, Debbie, it's Bob.
I love that.
I mean, it's like we saw each other yesterday. And of course, he was very involved with the VFW, and that's how I got involved with the VFW, to make a short story long.
Right,
So,
right. Well, here in our community, Tony Bliss is the one who is I think he's been doing the Memorial Day parade in Locust Valley, I think, for more than 20 years. But what movers and shakers, and how wonderful when you have those connections, that come later that you don't expect.
Oh, yeah. So we're good, very close friends now. Yeah. And again, as I say, a long time.
Yeah. Well, and for us, the Tribute and Honor Foundation, and doing this event at your lodge, the Henderson-Marino Lodge, in Port Washington. What a beautiful, not a giant building, but what was so beautifully appointed and just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, we've been very lucky. We've had donations from the DeJohn Foundation, and then we got a grant from the state to do some work. We got one more part to do, and we're doing it now. So
yeah, certainly the DeJohn Foundation does so much across Long Island, and especially for our veterans.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for our veterans, and a giant shout out to them. Yeah. Why don't you, I'm going to segue, because we have also got a great Kiwanis club here at Glen Cove, and in fact, every time I see them, they're like, you should join the Kiwanis. Here's an opportunity. And I say, you know what? If I'm on one more organization,
right here for you.
Thank you. If I'm on one more organization, I'm just going to run screaming. But
I know.
And I'm one of those like you. If I commit to something, I do it. So I haven't joined them, but I certainly support them, and they do so much. And certainly historically, Kiwanis has been made such a impact around the world, right? I know there's a foundation. Why don't you chat a little bit about what you do locally, and then we'll go bigger on it.
Yeah, Kiwanis is an organization. It's founded in 1915. There's about 300,000 people in the Kiwanis worldwide.
Wow.
Okay, and I think I read someplace like one of the biggest areas is in the Philippines.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but they're all over the world. I always wondered. I just looked this up. I've been in Kiwanis for a long time, but not a long time, a few years. But what does Kiwanis come from? And it's an Indian term.
Okay.
And it comes from I actually wrote it down. Ojibwe people who were around the Detroit area. In fact, that's where kind of it got founded. The Kiwanis itself got founded, and it's an Indian term. It means we build. And the Kiwanis, it sort of became a little different. The real meaning of the Kiwanis is improving the world one child and one community at a time. That's their motto. And obviously, it's serving children of the world is what they're all about.
Right.
And the Kiwanis has different organizations. They have the Key Club, which are for high school kids. Actually, there's another group even younger, but the Key Club is really where it starts. And then obviously there's another group in college, and then the main Kiwanis itself.
Right. I know. Again, locally, I'm a former board member of the North Shore Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and still, anytime I can, I lend them a hand. But the Key Club, the North Shore Key Club, oftentimes joins with them in doing backpack drives and turkey giveaways, and those young people,
they're great,
beginning to end, are just it kind of reignites your feeling of our future is going to be just fine. We worry, but you see those young people who are learning those values, and the fact that Kiwanis is a part of that in a big way is really just beautiful to see.
Yeah, it really, we have a few drives. And we also work with one of the things we do is one of our members is on the board of the Salvation Army. So at Christmas time and the holiday time, we are at the Stop and Shop with the kettles.
Yes,
and the kids are there, and they're ringing the bells. And
so now tell me, which Kiwanis Club are you a member with, and what are some of your initiatives that you all do annually? I would say.
So we're the Kiwanis Club of Manhasset, Port Washington.
Okay.
So it's both communities. And we have 4 basic drives a year. The big one will be September 15th, which is our annual golf outing, which will be held at the North Shore Country Club. And followed very quickly by, this year, something different. The coolest dog on the harbor. which we're
Okay.
not sure of the date yet because we're still putting this together. This is the first year. But one of our members she works very, very hard, Kathy Levinson, she's a dog lover, and she is putting this together, and it's going to be fantastic, I think.
Beautiful.
Because she's going to get a lot of people involved and we're going to have fun with it.
Well, I have been invited to be a judge at our local dog show.
And I think that's
like
one of the things
best-
she saw.
Right.
Yes, that's how it came about. I think she said something about this area that they had.
Oh my! We had the best time,
yeah.
and from best dress to matching outfits to and what I love about it is. Yes, it is such great fun and so beautiful to see everybody bring their dogs and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But also it raises money for a good cause and raises for other initiatives and raises awareness.
And for us, I think it's going to be a lot easier than running a golf outing.
That's true.
Really.
Oh,
golf
my
outing
gosh.
is tough.
Yeah.
And then we have right after that, when we've had this for over 60 years, is the annual pancake breakfast, which is at Manhasset High School, and we've been doing it for, as I say, over 60 years. And that will be, I think it's the first Sunday in November.
Okay.
And then we won't have anything again until early spring. We had Taste of the Town this year, and we have it over at the Greek Church in off Shell Road, the Archangel Michael, I think it's called. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it's a great venue. It really is. And we had about 20 restaurants. Local, very good restaurants too.
Wow.
Everything worked perfectly except one thing, and it had to do with the weather. It was a gorgeous day, and the Manhasset SCA Fair was the same day. So it hurt us a little bit with the amount of people coming, but everything else went perfectly. So we're just going to have it earlier next year too.
So you're not going to have that same conflict coming up. Okay,
we're
that's
not going
good.
to. We're going to make sure there's no conflicts next year.
I know. It's almost next to impossible. Inevitably,
yes.
You check every calendar there is, and the Tribute and Honor Foundation, our annual gala is always on the first Saturday. So we claimed that, first Saturday in February.
Yeah.
But one year, I think there was an organization that moved theirs a little earlier, so it fell on the first Saturday. And I said, I'm sorry, but as hard as you work, sometimes it just happens. But yes, live and learn.
Oh yeah,
know. So I would say, so why? So the Kiwanis. So you could easily just have social events, everybody get together. There certainly is a social aspect to it. You meet people, you make new friends. Business-wise, it's often great because you may know a plumber in the group or But why is it so important to have the component of giving back to the community and serving, especially families and children? Why is that important?
Well, just think of it. I mean, especially in our area, especially at Port Washington, there are a lot of new families coming in that are actually very poor and pretty much migrants. That's what we're starting to see.
Sure.
And we notice. We just had a food drive last Saturday, where we'll give to the local churches and the Lady House and. It's just important to everybody's got to be help some way or another. Some people just walk by and throw you a $20 bill. That's fine. It works. Other people come out with lots of food and everything. But and what happens is, like you said yourself, when you get involved in something, you're either involved or you're not involved.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, that's my nature, I guess, and your nature too. So. That's just what.
Yeah, there is I feel a little bit. We have parallel universes here.
Yes, exactly.
I often get accused, Gaitley, you're everywhere. So but it's about serving. It's about serving the community. And here is the thing that I'm certain that you find also is, if you join an organization just to get to know people, so showing up, sitting around a table, and eating snacks is a nice way to get to know people. But a better way to get to know people is showing up and having a dog show and raising money, or showing up and collecting money to make sure kids have coats for the wintertime, or showing up and making sure that our families and our changing demographics and are all served, and our full as I said, the name of this program is Many Voices, One Community.
Yeah.
So and to me, that's where the emphasis is.
And so we're looking at the children with the Kiwanis. With the VFW, we have a lot of veterans out there. Fred, who was my quartermaster, as I said, is very involved with a group that there are a lot of veterans living out in the Pine Barrens, believe it or not.
Wow.
Camping out in the Pine Barrens. And he's very
that is heartbreaking.
That is heartbreaking. And he works with this one group. The good news is that they have now, because they were having a tough time. And from what I hear, I haven't heard the whole story yet, but I guess they've connected now with Tunnel to Tower.
Great.
And
oh my gosh.
Because Tunnel to Tower didn't know how to get to these type of guys, these fellows who were living in the Pine Barrens. And these people at this group know how to do it. And and it's tough. It's tricky, in fact. And because they're very nervous. PTSD is a big problem.
Of course, and feeling safe.
And
that's it.
Yes,
oftentimes, and I know from North Shore Sheltering here in Glen Cove, which existed also through Nosh Delivers, people economically on the edge.
Yeah.
It's not. People think, oh well, there's a facility you can get on a bus and go somewhere, but feeling safe and okay. It's not just making sure you don't freeze to death, which that's where you start.
Yeah. In fact, it was funny talking about freezing to death. There's I can't remember the name of them now. There's a company that came to us and said, we have all these coats, brand new coats. They made coats, and this was over. These were coats that they made too many copies of, and so we were able to get these coats out to this group, and it really worked very well.
Beautiful.
And then then they had more coats, and we were able to get those coats to another group that used them or sent them down to, remember the flooding down in the Carolinas?
I do. I'm from the Carolinas.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
Absolutely, so
Robeson County, where I grew up, my little town, Lumberton. Oh my God, they're still suffering from it.
Oh yeah, I've seen the pictures. I mean, it's one of those things where it's going to be a long, long time. So anyway, they were able to get a truckload of those coats down to them too. So that really worked out great.
And I will say, Bob, on that note, what a pleasure it has been having you today. It's 25 minutes long, and it could not have gone more quickly.
I agree. I'm surprised.
But I will say, speaking of the many voices in one community, thank you so much for your work with Kiwanis and the other work you do in the community, and all of the Kiwanians. Is that the word?
Kiwanians, yes.
Kiwanians.
Yes.
And just been a real pleasure having you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. And so that's it. For Many Voices, One Community, I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. Please make a point to go to our website, which is hmtcli.org/HMTV. And there are so many great podcasts there. And also, please make sure and see our earlier podcasts, especially Evelyn Candell, another veteran who was with us. And what a pleasure. Thank you so very much, and see you next time.